Welcome back to God is Alive. My name is Serena, and here I speak all about what it truly means to have a personal relationship with God. We have faith every day that we'll wake up tomorrow, so I want to start a fire in your heart to stop chasing the temporary things of this world and to put that same faith in God. So let's learn about God and learn to lean on God, because what's the worst that could happen? Hi, my loves. Welcome back. This is my first time recording in such a long time, all because my laptop touched a drop of water and it turned off and never turned back on. Yeah, I lost everything. I lost my intro, my outro, literally everything I had for my podcast. So here I am a couple months later, and I'm back and I'm better than ever. So something I've noticed recently about myself is I've almost been enjoying reading the Old Testament over the New Testament. Now I know how that sounds, right? I feel like people would look at me and be like, really? Wow, it's good for you, you know? But I really used to have it in my head that the Old Testament was bad and God is bad and evil, and the New Testament, everything's so much better, you know, roses and flowers and dandelions. And it's not like that at all. And it's just a huge misconception that I found while reading the Word. God hasn't changed, right? And so I feel like maybe you might wonder then, okay, well then why is God this way in the Old Testament and he's not like that anymore? And that would be a good question, right? And the only thing I can say to that is only one thing has changed, and that's Jesus. Jesus changed everything. God hasn't changed. But Jesus coming on the scene and Jesus coming into the picture changed everything, to the point where the Old Testament and the New Testament are almost just completely different, but God is the same. Currently, I'm taking my religion minor. I'm a psychology major at the University of Central Florida, but I'm taking a religion minor. And a lot of my classes have to do with faith versus reason, right? Religion versus science. And something that a lot of people don't understand from an outsider's perspective looking in is like the 10 Commandments. An argument I had to read about is, why are there only 2 commandments regarding how we should act? Do not steal and do not kill. It has nothing to do with all the other bad things that we could possibly do, right? And I thought that was a really good question. So many of the 10 Commandment laws have to do with the fact that God is a jealous God and he doesn't want us following other gods. But something that a lot of people don't take into consideration is how different society is today than it was then for the Israelites. The Israelites struggled very heavily with following false gods. And it even says in the Old Testament, God was talking to, I want to say it was Jeremiah, and he was saying, they look at rocks and call them God. They look at trees and they say, you formed me. And God would get really upset about that. And I honestly think that's for a good reason. Imagine you made a work of art. Like right now, I'm making my podcast. I mean, that's kind of something, right? But imagine you spent hours, days, even years making a masterpiece, like you're Michelangelo painting the ceiling, right? And then people come in and they say, Michelangelo didn't paint that. It was this other guy named John. It was this other guy, that did it. It wasn't Michelangelo. Michelangelo would get pretty mad, wouldn't he? I would get pretty mad if I spent days, weeks, years working on something and everyone gave the credit to something else. And I truly believe that's how God feels. And that's how he felt with the Israelites. He spent time and time again trying to tell them who he was, show them who he was. God can't just come and stand in front of us. The Bible says if he did that, we would feel like death. Because we've never been that close to God. We would feel like death. So he doesn't do that to us. He tries to show us how real he really is in his own way. And that's what he did for the Israelites. He showed them time and time again who he was, how real he is, And he helped them get out of the situations that they were in. He helped bring them out of Egypt. David wrote Psalm 105, and it's honestly a recap of everything God had done for them up until that point. Just like a brief overview. David's intention with writing this psalm was for the people to realize God is here. He's all around us. He hears you. He loves you. He's looking out for you. Remember the things that he's done. Because that's ultimately what happens in the Old Testament. I mean, that's what the entire book of Judges is about. God would come through for his people. He would help his people. They'd be struggling with something, struggling with idols. And in today's society, maybe we're not struggling with idols, like we're not looking at stone and saying, "You're my God," but we have idols in another form, right? We have addictions, and we're chained to other things. Our phones, TV shows, our jobs, so many things are capturing our attention every single day. And we go to that, and we place that as more important than God. Because it's so easy. It's so easy to, oh, well, I know I need to read some of the word, but I have bills due, and I have this to do, and I have this assignment due. I have work to go to, and I have dinner to put on the table, and I have all of these other things that I need to be doing. And so we put God on the back burner. And it's very easy for us to do it in today's society, and it was very easy for them to do it even then. Even, 5,000 years ago, roughly? Nothing's changed in that aspect. We all want to put ourselves first and put God last. Like, yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. I know he's out there. I know he's working for me. But we're not utilizing it. If you truly believe that there is a God out there, why wouldn't you try everything in your power to get to know him and have a relationship with him? What holds you back? I don't know if you ever heard that saying about you choose your own hard. For example, let's say you want to go to bed early, have a good night's sleep, and wake up in the morning rested and ready to take on the day. That takes discipline. That's hard to do. It's hard at nighttime to go, you know what? I need to cut the day off. I need to go to bed, because if I don't do it now, then I'm going to struggle more tomorrow. It's hard. But you know what else is hard? Not doing those things. It may be easy in the moment, but over time, it will become harder. Because over time, maybe you will develop a pattern of staying up late, sleeping in, and not doing what you need to do. So that applies with eating, right? Eating healthy food and planning out what you're going to eat for dinner and going to the store and learning how to cook, right? It's hard. But you know what will be harder in the long run? Not doing those things. Eating out. You're going to have heart problems, diabetes. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to sit here and act like I am. But I know that in the long run, it's going to be harder because you won't know how to cook. You won't know how to meal plan. So you choose your hard, right? And that's kind of what I'm trying to say here, is that it's very easy to focus on what's calling at us right now. Because I can imagine God is not calling at you right now. He's not calling at you like, hey, look at me. Mama, I'm here. That's not how he does it. That's never how he's worked. But he is there. And he does love you, whether you know it or not. And ultimately, when we ignore his guidance, and we ignore his call in our life, and we ignore his word, which I don't know if you've ever heard this acronym for Bible, basic instructions before leaving earth. That's kind of what it is. It's a guide. It's a recommendation. It's a book full of experiences where you can learn from, so you don't make the same mistakes. It's a whole book with the common theme being God. And there's all these sorts of people throughout the entire book that have had their own experiences with God. And each person is different. The cards that you have been dealt is different than the next person. And that's why comparison is the thief of joy. That's in the book. Comparing yourself to your neighbor, to your classmate, to your coworker, it's just going to take away your joy. It's going to take away what you feel and what you have. So when we don't open up this book and we don't utilize what's in this book, even though you believe in it, you're choosing your own heart. Ignorance may be bliss, but it won't bring you joy. It won't bring you peace in a world filled with conflict. And if you don't know, the opposite of peace is conflict. I've enjoyed reading my Bible so much because it feels nice reading the truth in a world full of lies. That's coming from me. It's like my little heaven on earth. I don't feel good when I spend too much time on social media. I don't even feel good when I spend too much time focused on myself. I don't even feel good when I earn straight A's. And I know for some of you that may sound like, oh wow, first world problems, but it's just true. I'll spend a whole semester, months on end, racking my brain over grades, and by the end, I get my straight A's. Do I feel any better? Maybe for a second. And then the next morning I wake up, and it's okay, what's next? What's next? These little accomplishments don't satisfy you. And if they do, please, I want you to message me on Instagram, Serena Speaks Podcast, and I want you to tell me what accomplishment you have gotten that has completely satisfied you. You wake up in the morning, you don't need to do anything else, because that was it. That's all you needed. It just doesn't work like that, because you know why. And the only way I know how to explain it is this. You didn't make yourself. You don't know how many hairs are on top of your head. You don't know why your favorite color is what it is. You don't know why you have passions in this area, and you like these kinds of people, and you like this kind of music. You don't know because you didn't make you. Why do you have that family? I don't know. Even I don't know. Because I didn't make you either. So when we run around looking at self-help books, watching TED Talks, doing all this stuff, trying to find who we are in this world, you're never going to find it. You're never going to find it because you're not going to the source. If you don't know what you want to do in your life, if you don't enjoy waking up in the morning, if even the things that are supposed to make you happy don't really make you happy, it's because you're not going to the source. And I promise you, God knows you better than you do. He knows you like the back of his hand. It's really hard for me, and probably you too, to fathom God. And if we could fathom God, he wouldn't be worth worshiping. I will spend my entire life trying to understand and fathom God. And the honest truth is, that's not the point. The point is to know that he has the world in the palm of his hand, and so we don't have to. He knows why the sun has to come up, and why the moon, and why we have days, and why we need food, and why we need oxygen, and why we need love. He knows because he made us. We don't need to know all of that. We're going to drive ourselves crazy trying to figure out all of that. What we need to know is what we need to do. We need to know our purpose. We need to know why we're here. And unfortunately, we're never going to be able to know that unless we go to the source, unless you go to God. Maybe you might pray to God, and maybe you might read your Bible or, go to church on Sunday. But if you don't feel it fulfilling you, then you're not doing it right. And I'm just being honest. Because for me, it's the best thing that's ever happened to me in my life, having a relationship with God. He says, my sheep know my voice. Have you also heard the saying, like, sheep's in wolves' clothing? Yeah, there's a lot of people who go to church who say they know God, and they don't, because they're sheep's in wolves' clothing. The Bible kind of refers to sheep, like when you hear the word sheep written in the Bible, it's mainly about those who are truly with God in their hearts. And so many of us, we focus on ourselves, and we focus on our deadlines, and we focus on our bills and our jobs and our children more than we focus on God. And I'm sorry, but you're going to just keep spinning your wheels into the dirt if you live your life like that. You're not going to be able to feel the fruits of the Spirit that come with having a true relationship with God. And I know the ones that we crave are joy and peace. We crave those. So if I were to talk to you about my dad right now, my biological dad, and I were to explain to you what he sounds like and how he talks, I could use all the words in my vocabulary, which is very limited, to explain to you that, oh, he has a strong voice, but humble, and, he can get angry at times, but overall, he's very loving. Are you going to be able to recognize my dad when you meet him? No. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I can sit here and explain to you all day long what my biological father sounds like. But you're not going to know what he sounds like. You're not going to know who he is until you meet him for yourself. And the same thing applies with God. He says, my sheep know my voice. I know his voice. I hear him. And a lot of people will look at me and think, oh, you hear from God, that's funny, that's really cute. And I would look at them and think, well, you're pretty cute too for thinking that I would be lying. I have no intention to lie. I don't care how I'm perceived by you. I only care how I'm perceived by him. There's no reason for me to lie. There's no reason for me to start a podcast over something that's not true. And one of the best ways to know if you are hearing from God or not, if he is trying to speak to you in your head, because he's a spiritual being, and thoughts are spiritual, thoughts cannot be proved by science. Proven. Science cannot prove why you can picture a bright red apple in your head, because thoughts are spiritual. Dreams are spiritual. You have what's called a spirit body and a physical body. And you're not going to know any of this stuff if you don't read his word. He's given it to you. And if you're listening to this podcast right now, you're living in a place where you can openly go out, buy the book, and read the book. Man, right now in China, they are having to smuggle Bibles and have underground Bible studies because their government doesn't allow them to learn the Word of God. Isn't that sad? You and I, we don't really realize how good we have it sometimes, and we forsake it. And in a way, we're like the Israelites. The Israelites had God so strongly. God helped them get out of Egypt. God gave them the land of Canaan, brought them to it. He did so many miracles for the Israelites. And guess what? They forsake him. Forsaken. They neglected him. That's what they did. And I promise you, when you neglect God, it hurts God more than anything else. Because God cares about your heart. God cared about the hearts of the Israelites, and God cares about the hearts of us. Nothing's changed in the Old Testament or the New Testament. He cares about your heart. And you know what else hasn't changed? Us. Each one of us goes against God in one way or another. We know what is going against God because we have the Bible. He's told us. He's told ancestors. He's told us. We know. Killing is bad. Murder is bad. Idolatry is bad. All these things are bad. We know that we go against God. Some of us do it every day. Some of us do it once a month. It doesn't matter. We go against him. But like a good parent does, they're not going to lock you into a room until you said that you're never going to do it again, because they know that's not how it works. If you want to go out there and do whatever you want to do, you're going to do it. You cannot convince anyone that doesn't want to be convinced. But he does try to guide you. And you know why? Because he doesn't want to see you get hurt. He starts guiding you. When you start allowing him in, he will start to guide you. Slowly but surely, every day, it's just something little if you spend the time with him. Before you know it, your values will start to change. You will realize the people in your life who really care about you and the people that don't. You will realize the situation that you've gotten yourself in, and he will help you get out of it. Slowly but surely, he will. So many times we want like a big miracle, like, oh my gosh, God is real. And you know what? He can do those. But I promise you, it's a bunch of little things that he will do before he does that big thing in your life. But it can't be a one-sided relationship. And the analogy that I always like to use is when you pray, you're talking to God, the creator of the universe. Okay? And we don't go to someone to just complain and complain. Why did my dad die? Why did this happen to me? Why am I given the family that I'm given? Why did I lose my job? Why this and why that? Why? And then just hang up. No, we go to someone and we talk to them and we have a conversation with them. We have the Holy Spirit. We can talk to God. We can communicate with him. And he's there all the time to communicate with us, and we don't utilize that, and it's sad. It's sad to see the way that we try to neglect him. I promise you, if you cry out to the Lord, he will come through for you. He will make you feel better. I promise you, if you go to him and you say, God, I don't know why I'm in this situation. I don't know why I'm sad, but I need your help. And you humble yourself in front of him. And you say, you know what? I don't know why this happened to me, but I want you to teach me. He will use that, and he will start working in your life. So I hope I've inspired you today to maybe try to call on God and maybe open up the Word and learn a little bit about him. It's baby steps. If you're trying to eat healthier, it's not like tomorrow you're going to wake up and start making the most vegan, gourmet, meals of your life. You're going to start by learning. You're going to start by doing just a little bit. And before you know it, you're going to look back and go, wow, whoa, I see the way he works. I see the way he's worked in my life. And guess what? If you have God in your life and you have him working in your life, you're not going to want to keep it to yourself, because that's what happened to me. I cannot just sit idly by while all these other people don't utilize what they could have. If I did it, you can do it, and that's all I'm going to say. So thank you so much for tuning in. And today's song of the day is Oceans. In parentheses, it says, where feet may fail. Hillsong United makes a good one, but my favorite is the one by Rend Collective. So thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Mwah. So now you know more about me, but I want to get to know you too. So if you want, feel free to head on over to Instagram and message me at Serena Speaks Podcast with questions or just anything. Also, I plan to create a website soon to foster a community here and to provide resources just for you. As always, thank you for tuning in, and I cannot wait to talk to you again next time. Mwah.